I have so much nostalgia for the animated Peter Pan movie from Disney, but I also really enjoy Hook. What's up, Disney fans? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are talking Peter Pan and Wendy, the live-action reimagining coming to Disney Plus this weekend. It's on Disney Plus by the time you're watching this. Are you doing it? No.
That's what she said!
Based on the 1953 animated classic, Peter Pan and Wendy is the timeless tale of a young girl and her two younger brothers who travel to the magical Neverland. There she meets a boy who refuses to grow up, a tiny fairy, and an evil pirate captain, and they soon find themselves on a thrilling and dangerous adventure far, far away from their family and comforts of home. This is directed by David Lowery. They have some famous people in there too. Jude Law plays Captain Hook, Jim Gaffigan's in there as Smee, Alan Tudyk, Ever Anderson plays Wendy, and Alexander Mullen plays Peter Pan. This is, of course, rated PG because it's the same movie, just in live action. That being said, the director, David Lowery, who comes to us from a very independent and artistic background, directing movies like A Ghost Story and The Green Knight. I enjoyed The Green Knight, not everyone did, but he also brought us Pete's Dragon. And I thought Pete's Dragon was one of the better Disney live-action remakes, coming to Peter Pan and Wendy, hopefully injecting a bit of that style that we know and love. And that's in there for sure. I think without David Lowery, this movie would have been just another standard, generic rehash where the live-action version's nowhere near as good as the animated version. And I'm definitely not going to put this movie on that level, or frankly close to that level, because that's a very special movie to me. But I do believe Peter Pan and Wendy has enough of Lowery's style and some good performances in there for me to say this is not a bad live-action remake. It's not generic.
Say what?
That does kind of follow it, right? I'm not going to say it follows it to a T. One of the downside of these live-action remakes is the fact that you can't do all of the things that animation can do, right? The character movements, especially when we're looking at that relationship with Hook and one giant crocodile that admittedly looks pretty good in live action. That's another thing I'll give to David Lowery, man. Creature design and really just bringing those things to life like he did with Pete's Dragon. So it looks good, but you don't get the spontaneous and wild movements from characters, especially Smee. And I thought Smee was actually really good in this movie. I like Jim Gaffigan's portrayal, a bit grittier and kind of going about it with this deeper voice than what we know from the animated film. But that relationship between he and Hook is still compelling. It's still interesting. A lot of it comes from Jude Law's performance as Hook. And, you know, I've seen some people on Twitter saying, it's not the best performance as Hook. I thought he was really good. I thought that may have been the performance that carried this film, and there's a bit of a back and forth at one point in the movie, and you know if you've seen the animated movie between he and Wendy, and that was fascinating to me. I thought both performances in that moment were really good. And then I look at the kids' side of things. I really like Wendy in this movie. She has a lot to carry on her shoulders as a character, you know, obviously looking after her two younger brothers, but then going into this very unknown place, you know, a place to where it feels like she doesn't necessarily belong, yet it's one that part of her wants to stay in. We know that. That's classic Wendy. What does that mean? I like Tiger Lily, I like the twins, I like Slightly. There are some characters in here that I found to be really charming. And this may come down to direction, right? David Lowery, as good of a director as he is, I just felt as if there was something not working about Peter Pan and the relationship with Wendy, and just, you know, a lack of that charisma that maybe I wanted to see a lot more of at the beginning of the movie, and then I held out like, okay, let's see what else we got here. But even, you know, during integral scenes that we expect to get from Peter Pan, like action sequences, I didn't feel like the movements were as swift as they needed to be, and that dynamic between Peter and Hook and their past, and that's something that we actually explore in this film, and I really liked that touch, and I liked the writing for those moments. Performance-wise, I just wasn't fully feeling it, and there were a couple of other supporting characters where I kind of felt the same way, so that kept me from really truly connecting to this version of the story. And, you know, again, I'm not sure where the disconnect was. I think it could have even been the direction there, not knowing exactly how to handle certain scenes. But yeah, that was an aspect of the movie that just didn't fully work for me. And then that creativity from Lowery that I was talking about, you know, I thought moments would maybe push it a bit more than they did. I thought moments could have been darker and more fleshed out. You know, you get a live action version, you expect a few things to be explored on a different level from what we saw in the animated movie, because obviously this one's a bit longer, but also because you don't want a rehash 100% from start to finish. And that's not the case here, right? There are a few moments that we get with characters, some that we do not. I still felt a lack of, maybe a lack of originality that David Lowery brought to Pete's Dragon, or, some of these other live action projects. I have felt that from, not most of them, just some of them. The last few, Pinocchio last year was... Yeesh. Boo! Look, the movie's well made, and I don't have any major complaints, and I think that's a good thing. There are no extremely awkward storytelling moments, no, moments within the CGI that are absolutely terrible. That is not the case. It's a good-looking movie. I do believe the color palette could have been given a bit more spark. The score for this film is amazing. I was captivated by a couple of performances, at some points Lowery's direction, but mostly it was the score. It was moving me. When the credits hit at the end, I'm like, this is awesome. This may just be like the definitive Peter Pan score. Obviously, it takes notes from the classic score that we know and love. You Can Fly, when that comes in and they're flying for the first time. That was beautiful. That was frankly a beautiful scene to look at. There may be a scene or two where it does have that television movie feeling because the budget may not have been as big for this project being a straight to Disney Plus release, but I do see that push from people behind the scenes. Okay, we're going to make this look maybe better than other Disney live action adaptations. Recently, especially with Pinocchio and Dumbo, they looked a little too out there. Not a ton to say here. Before I give you my score, today's question of the day is, what is your favorite Disney live action remake? I am curious to hear your answer. Mine would probably still be The Jungle Book. That sounds right. Peter Pan and Wendy is surprisingly charming. It is evident that David Lowery understands this world, but the film needed even more of his creativity. Hook and Wendy are standouts, while other characters aren't great. Overall, the film has enough magic and fun to suffice. Again, it's not a bad Disney live-action remake. That being said, I don't think it's a great Disney live-action remake, but being one on Disney Plus, I could have even watched this in the theater. And who knows, maybe if I would have, that would have made the experience better. But some nice visuals, and again, that score, it's riveting. It really is. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll be seeing you very soon with a review of Guardians of the Galaxy. Unless this comes out after that, then that's already on the channel. See you soon.